Hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck program and to The Blaze. Tonight I have a really special guest on that I want you to meet, Nick Vujicic. He is the author of Unstoppable, The Incredible Power of Faith in Action. Nick and I met a month ago?
Yes. And
he came into the studio, and if you don't know who he is, he has no arms and no legs. You may have seen the Butterfly Circus. You may have seen some of his incredible motivational work. You may have seen his book, Unstoppable. I remember the first time I saw him, you were married a year ago?
Mm-hmm. Well, 9 months ago.
9 months ago. Mm-hmm. And you were married in Hawaii.
Honeymoon.
Honeymoon in Hawaii.
Yes.
And I remember seeing in USA Today, I think, a picture of you on one of the front pages, maybe the life section.
Right.
And I started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, how come I've never heard of this guy? And then it had a picture of your wife, and we had a discussion. I'm sorry, we talked about you behind your back, but we had a discussion off the air of which one was more incredible, you or your wife.
We know the answer to that one. My
Yes,
wife, hands down.
But we thought you must be an incredible man to be able to get out of yourself and then be able to be married with no arms and no hands. You're not obviously not having a pity party, and she must be incredible because she's married a man who others would look and say, "What's he got?"
Exactly.
And then we met about a month ago, and quite honestly, I was nervous to meet you. I went to the front of the studio, and I have never felt more awkward in my life. And I waited for you in the lobby for about 10 minutes, and I kept putting my hands in my pockets and doing this and thinking, what do I do? What, do you shake hands? What? And you walked in, or you drove in, and you immediately said, give me a hug. And set me at ease.
Do you want another one?
Yeah.
I know we just had
another hug.
If you want another hug, you let me know.
Give me a hug. Let's hug it out. Let's hug it out. So I want to talk to you about all the way from how you got to be the man you are. From there, all the way to you piss me off because you play golf. And my wife and I were talking about you, and we were talking about you're probably in better shape than I am, and that really makes me angry.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know.
But we should have a putt-off, man. We should get like a little green happening in the studio, and we should have a competition for fun.
No, I don't think my self-esteem can handle that. I really don't think so.
Right?
Okay, so let's start with.
I'm not that good. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
I just do it for fun.
Right,
but,
okay.
No, thank you for, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
So tell me your childhood.
Born in the most loving home that I could ever imagine. My mum and dad, as Christians, believe that God never makes mistakes, but they definitely were wondering, what happened when the doctors had no idea, first of all, that I was going to be born this way, and no idea as to why of this birth deficiency.
Your father passed out, did he not, at your birth?
He just about. As I was born, he saw my right or left shoulder, he said, and he saw that there was no arm, and he nearly passed out, left the room. Meanwhile, my mum saw the nurses starting to cry. She said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" My mum, being a nurse and a midwife, delivering hundreds of babies before I was born, she knew exactly what phocomelia was. And that's what the doctor said I had, and she knew that meant born limbless for no medical reason. They put me next to my mum's side without my dad in the room, and my mum couldn't touch me, my mum couldn't hold me. She said, "I don't want to even see him, take him away." It was just such a shock, it was a tragedy, so many emotions right there. And then my dad came back in the room, he saw I was gone, and he said, "Can I go see him?" So he came to see me. I think they put me in a nursery, and then he unwrapped me, and he saw my body without arms and legs, and he came back and he said, "He's beautiful." And so he took a lead of being that, father and husband to say, we're going to get through this one day at a time.
Your mother, though, didn't hold you for a while.
She couldn't even breastfeed me. She just felt uncomfortable. To put in her words, she felt like she was living in a nightmare, waking up hoping that this was just a bad dream. She went to so many doctors asking why, what happened, and it took her 4 months to actually come to terms with it and say, okay, here's my flesh and blood. I'm going to do my best. And,
do you have younger brothers or sisters?
I have a brother and a sister born after me. They were a little scared to have a second child.
I bet they were.
It took them, though, 2 years to be comfortable with it, about trying again.
How long did it take before they were... yeah, darn right. That's my son, and I'm mom, and I'm dad, and I'm okay with it. How long did it take before they...
I don't know where that point is, but where they embraced it and decided to never give up and do their best. My mum 4 months and my dad straight out of the gate. Both of my parents had wonderful parents. My grandparents on both sides told my mum and dad, if you're going to give him up for adoption, we'll take him before you do that. And they said, no, we're going to be okay. That we have a huge family, a Serbian background. So I have 27 first cousins, and
wow.
They were all around me and, loving me, just like Nikki, I knew I had no arms, no legs, but I didn't think it was such a big deal till I went to school and started getting teased and bullied. And my brother and sister never treated me different. We were siblings, wrestling and fighting as, siblings do. But it was pretty difficult in those early years for both my parents and myself.
Was there a point where, you say, we were wrestling, et cetera, but you obviously, as a kid, couldn't brush your teeth.
Right.
Put your pajamas on.
Go to the toilet by myself.
Right.
Yep.
So when did it start on you, the mental game of, what am I going to do?
Yep.
I can't do anything.
Right.
When did that happen?
Well, my parents always planted seeds of love and encouragement and gave me an attitude of resilience in knowing that you don't know what you can achieve until you try it. They had no idea that I could really type in a computer until they gave me a shot.
You type
43 words.
43 words.
A minute. And then I drink coffee, so after 2 cups of coffee, I can up it up to 53.
And you type with your toes? My
big toe, yeah.
You have 2 toes?
2 toes, so I can do the peace sign. You want to see it? Yeah. Peace. So, with my little foot, I've got a little appendage here, 6 inches long, and I drive my electric wheelchair and walk around and swim, golf, fish. I've done horseback riding. Did you hear I went scuba diving and skydiving?
No, again, stop it. Stop it. You just feel like such a slug around
But
you.
As a kid, the doctors had no idea if I would ever be able to walk, and then I started walking, and then I started swimming. And
how did you get into a pool? What age were you when you got into a pool?
My earliest memories, I do remember floating, because my dad taught me how to float as a youngster. In the bathtub, that's how we started. Because I have no arms, no legs, I'm quite lighter than the average 29-year-old. And so,
How much do you weigh?
I now weigh, when I met my wife, she cooks really good. And so I put on about 10 pounds of happy weight, actually.
Yeah.
Now I'm at 81.
Wow.
So, yeah, just having that attitude of saying, you know what, okay, maybe I can't do this and that, but I'm going to focus on what I can do.
Okay, but you're making this sound awfully nice.
It's credit to my parents, though, because they never wanted me to feel sorry for myself.
Right.
So when they knew that I couldn't ride a bike, I got a skateboard. When I couldn't do what everybody else did, my dad pushed me to be smart in mathematics, so I was a year ahead in mathematics. And I loved chess, and I excelled in games like Monopoly, because I just like that stuff. So they were the reason why I had an attitude where, you know what, I can't do everything, but I'm going to do my best.
Okay, but let's go back here for a second.
But 8 years old is when I went to depression. That's where it happened.
Because you say your father taught you how to float in the bathtub, but it was in the bathtub at 8, wasn't it?
Age 8, I thought of committing suicide, and at age 10, I tried to commit suicide.
And you thought about it in a bathtub?
No, I thought about it all day before I went home. because of a whole day of bullying and being teased. Even though there were things that I could do and I wasn't depressed my whole childhood, there were some dark years because I didn't feel like there was a purpose to my life. And if I'm just living and existing with three burdens, number one, being ridiculed by the world, number two, being a burden to my parents, and number three, not looking forward to anything good in my life, thinking, well, wait a second, I'm not going to get a job, I'm not going to get married, I'm not going to be able to hold my wife's hand or carry my kids when they're crying. It didn't seem like life was worth living. That's how it felt. And I thought the only way out of my pain was to end it. And so I tried to drown myself in 6 inches of water, and I turned over 3 times, and the third time I rolled over, I thought of my mum and my dad and my brother crying at my grave and visualizing the pain I would leave behind if I actually went through with it.
And then at 10 or 13 you tried again? Or
Age 8 I thought about it, age 10 I tried.
Okay.
I was depressed up until basically age 12, 13. And from then on, I had some light bulbs go on in my mind and my heart about life.
Okay. Were your parents real religious?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, my dad, I'm a PK, right? I'm a pastor's kid. And so I would hear...
So your father's a pastor.
Yeah.
Then I'd say you're
pretty religious,
pretty
right?
religious,
right.
yeah.
So being brought up in a Christian home where you see your dad preaching about how good God is and how much he loves you, yet his own son was born without limbs for no medical reason, it didn't make sense to me. And I was really actually angry at God because I blamed him for my pain. You know, and I love those songs. You know, Jesus loves all the children of the world. And I thought, if he loved me like he loved everyone else, then why did he give me less? And if he is God who can do all things, then where are my arms and legs?
So where are they?
Well, I know for sure they're in heaven. That's for sure. I have a pair of shoes in my closet today just in case he says yes. I really do believe in the power of the supernatural, and I have seen 11 blind people seeing, deaf people hearing, lame people walking. In my travels of 44 countries, I've seen a lot of cool stuff. But today I'm going around with the message of the hope that I found in understanding that it's not always about a circumstance changing, but it's about fulfilling the perfect plan that was destined for your life in the beginning of time.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yep.
We watched as a family Butterfly Circus, which is tremendous, just tremendous. And it is how many people here have seen it, Butterfly Circus? Anybody? Go home and watch it. You can find it on YouTube. Go home and watch it. It's about 25 minutes.
22?
22 minutes. And it is the story of a freak show. And the way circuses and the way things used to be back around the Great Depression. And the message was very, very clear, even to my little kids, and very uplifting. Go home and watch it. We talked afterwards, and we wondered how anyone could ever complain around you, and how anyone around you could see their trials as anything other than easy and a gift. Because you believe what's happened to you is in a way a gift, right?
What the enemy tried to use for bad, God turned into good. And a lot of people have that perspective of what you just said. However, there is no hope in comparing each other's sufferings. I mean, I'm thinking of the 9-year-old kid whose mum and dad just divorced this year and who's going to have Christmas without mum and dad under the same roof. Brokenness is brokenness, pain is pain. And I think the fear of being alone is the worst disability anyone can ever experience. So what I do is I never say, hey, don't complain, hey, you're not going through anything. Far from that, but know that there is hope. And if you have your faith, friends and family around, you can see what beautiful things can come out of broken pieces if you give them a chance.
Back in just a second. The name of the book is Unstoppable. And that's exactly who you are. You're about to be a dad.
Yep.
Son's going to be born February?
Yes.
Okay.
Lord willing.
Let me share something with you that happened to me this week, and tell me how you're feeling. I was working when I was 8 years old in my father's bakery. I remember doing something with my father one time, flying a kite. One day. We never played ball. We never did anything. I tore my cartilages when I was really young, so I had braces on my legs when I was a kid, so I never played sports. Never got into sports. Don't know anything about it. This week, I had one of the hardest weeks I've ever had. I have an 8-year-old boy. I've been terrified of having a boy. We adopted him. And I have 3 girls, and that's been a piece of cake. But I don't know how to do the dad things that guys do. Don't know how to throw a football, and every time I go out and play with basketball with my son, he just looks at me and he smiles and he says, "Boy, Dad, you suck at this." And I say, "Yes, I do." And I keep throwing baskets. And this week, my wife, not knowing what this meant to me, had a friend come over to help teach him how to throw. And ripped me up inside. Because that's my job. But she's right. I can't do it. And how are you going to do it? There are things that you obviously can't do. How are you going to do it? Where are you as a dad?
Today I can tell you, first of all, that I had no words to describe the joy of feeling him kick in my wife's womb about 3 or 4 weeks ago, very first time. And I don't know how that exactly looks like, but what I do know is there is something that is more important than throwing a football, and that's to become a man, it's to become a gentleman. It's to be educated, understanding how important life is, how much love is important in our life, more than if you can throw a football or not. There will be things that maybe he's going to love doing that will have no clue. But I hope he likes fishing, because I like to fish. I hope he'll like surfing. We'll go to Hawaii and surf. We're taking him to 25 countries in his first year of living. And so I hope that he gets the travel bug early. Because I love traveling. My wife loves traveling. We love to change people's lives in any way that we can. We just sponsored 3 kids yesterday, 2 in Mexico and 1 in Rwanda, and we just love kids. We want our son to know that have fun, do what you can do your best. Don't compare yourself to your friends. Don't feel like you need to be like them, but enjoy life. But know the more important things is that who you are and the truth of your purpose and your destiny, that's only your job. No one else can teach him that. Be an example of a husband to your wife, and that's what our children really are missing today.
I'm sorry, but all of that sounds really good. And maybe it's the fact that I have my arms and legs, so I am on the short end of the stick here. But you're telling me that there is nothing that won't bother you at all? That there's nothing that not being able to hold your child? I mean, you have really become one with all of this? There's not really?
This is what happened. When I was about 16 or 17 years old, we were at a family gathering, and this 2.5-year-old girl was about my height, and I was standing on the floor, she was standing on the floor. She went to go hug everyone goodbye. She wanted to come and give me a hug. Now, up until this point, I was worried about how I'm going to hold my kids when they're crying. How can I trust God in that? That's something that money cannot buy. You can't buy a hug. You can't buy that feeling. I will never know how it is to put your 2 hands around your little one. I don't know that. But what I do know is that girl came up to me. She looked at me, she stared, she contemplated. Imagine a 2.5-year-old girl. She put her hands behind her back. She walked up to me and hugged me with her neck.
Oh, great.
So it's beyond trying to work out things. It's trusting that no matter what we're worried about, even the worst parts of our life can turn into great. Great. Not just good, but great. It's all about the heart, man. You know that, but I don't know how it is to be in your shoes, figuratively speaking, but it actually gives you more focus to make sure as a father that you actually focus on what's more important than anything else, and you'll find something. Maybe you need to pick up Xbox or something.
No. We do all...
You do that, right?
No, this is
You're
not...
cool.
This is not... No, not cool. No, we do play chess together. So that takes
See, I
me
can
off
play
the...
chess.
Yes.
There you go.
It's not him. It's that part of each of us that thinks that we should be doing this, or we should be doing that, or it's what you have lived with your whole life.
That's it.
The picture in your head that you think you have to be, and the 2 secrets of life that I have learned, and I think it's part of your message, is it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it. Just the second, just let it go. Just let it go, because it's not so bad. It's only bad when you fight it.
It bothered me most as a kid, between ages 6 and 10, when I'd be on the side of the field, not being able to do anything, stuck to just have a conversation with my teacher, because everybody else was on the field, and I had to make a conscious decision. Okay, Nick, it's okay, you can't do that, but just remember, you're good at this and this. It was hard. It's a yucky taste in your mouth as a decision to say, okay, I'm not going to get tempted into going into a corner and say, poor me, I can't do this. No, have some dignity.
When did kids change with you?
When did kids change with me?
Yeah, did kids change with you? Because I notice little kids, play with anybody. The color doesn't matter. Language doesn't, nothing matters to little kids. They just play. They just come up in the middle of the supermarket and just introduce themselves and say hi, and all of a sudden they're pals.
Yeah.
And then it changes. Did you notice a change, or what were kids like?
It was most difficult because they would all look at me with most, of course, curiosity, wondering what happened to me, and I would get sick and tired of saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So I just started saying cigarettes, and I thought that was pretty funny. But it's an anti-smoking campaign, it's a really good one. But really, in school, it was hard to get away from. My parents always said, just ignore them. When the world says you're not good enough, get a second opinion. They gave me all these great one-liners, do your best and God will do the rest, and you're special. I didn't want to be special. I wanted to be normal. But there were some days where I found myself in the garden at school, hiding from everyone, because I was just so scared that I would break down and never, ever, ever want to come back to school. And I knew that I had no choice but to go to school. That's what my mum and dad said. I couldn't change my surroundings, and I just remember them to be all mean. I think kids are mean. I mean, I had a couple good friends along the way, but most of the kids, they just picked on. I mean, it's just anyone at school. They'll pick on your eyebrows, your nose, your chin, your clothes, your hair, the way you walk, your school bag. I mean, just kids are kids. That's why it's so heavy on my heart to reach the next generation about bullying, because you come into this lie that you actually are less valuable than others just because of how you look, or you can do less. That's totally far from the truth. People are in depression because of that, and it's wrong.
So how do you change that with kids?
With kids, me speaking to them today, or how do you?
How do you change as parents? How do you change it speaking to them? How do we change it as parents? How do you change that with kids?
You, first of all, if I'm speaking to parents, definitely if you have teenage kids who put a do not disturb sign on their front door, I recommend that you respect that sign, but go to their window and stick your head through it and say, you're beautiful just the way that you are. You don't need to look like them. You don't need to have more friends. You just need a couple good friends. And that's normally truth that actually gives us enough strength to get from day to day. The best thing that my parents ever did was every day tell me how much they love me, how beautiful I am, and that I'm special. If they didn't do that, I would have gone through with my suicide. Teenagers, we're looking for something. We wish we were taller, shorter, more popular. What job am I going to get? Who am I going to be? Why am I here? All these questions come through. And we sort of are looking for this happiness that never can come from the outside. If I just had a boyfriend, then I'll feel loved. If I can just be the tough guy or the athlete, then I'll be who I need to be. That's why I love speaking at schools on that level, to let them know that the truth of your value is knowing that there is not one perfect tree out there. Which tree out there in the world is flawless? We are all uniquely created to be.
So when you say you're special, that brings up, at least in American culture right now, oh, you're special. Right. I kind of go the opposite way.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not. We're all different.
Yeah.
And we're all special to God.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily unique. It's what you do. It's what you bring out that makes you special. You know what I mean? And you have to kind of earn that through merit. We're in a society now where everybody gets a ribbon and everybody's told they're special, and so then they wait for the cameras to arrive because why I'm special. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
That's an interesting perspective. I would say that everyone is uniquely created. As the Bible says, I am wonderfully and fearfully made.
There's a difference between, and maybe we're speaking two different realms here.
Got it.
You're speaking God realm.
Right.
I'm speaking, in our society, everybody's, oh, well, that's special. And that answer's not wrong. That's just a different answer. No, that's wrong, dummy. You know what I mean? Everybody is taught that, oh, you came in 7th place, but you're just as good. No, you're not. You might be good at something else, but you're not necessarily the best runner. And so you don't get the ribbon for that. We have to delve in and find what's unique about us and shape that and mold that. Does that make sense to you?
It's interesting. I've never gotten a ribbon for running, but I'm
see what he's doing here?
Yeah. No, I understand exactly what you mean, and that's I think something that people will mature into and understand that.
Right.
But I want to take it a step further and say, what if you're a janitor? What if your job becomes a janitor? Forget about...
Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So it's not about what you can do in the end and what you do, because that janitor...
No. I don't mean what you do like... It's if you're going to be a janitor, I don't care if you're a janitor. Be the best janitor that you can be.
Exactly.
Bring honor and merit to that,
100%.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're not special because you were born a Trump.
Right.
You're not special, and everybody here is born and created equal. Now, what do you bring into the table?
Oh, I like that.
What do you bring into the table?
That's good.
So, okay, back into
That's really good.
Back with a remarkable man, the author of Unstoppable. We were just talking about being special here during the break, and I think we've had a meeting of minds on it.
We did. I remember now, just going back to that last comment of yours, it was so true that I never wanted to be special. I just wanted to be normal. But I think the word we're looking for is significance. Significance of knowing that I'm not a mistake. But we have an opportunity, every single one of us, having a purpose, right?
Perfect.
Exactly.
We were saying, and I don't know if you could hear us in the break, but we were just talking that I have a daughter with cerebral palsy, and when she was, must have been about 7 years old. She had had a seizure, and her hands shake, her whole body shakes when, the next day. And she was at the breakfast table, and she was trying to keep the Cheerios or the Fruit Loops just in her spoon. And her hands were shaking, and the cereal kept shaking out. And I told her, I held her hand, and I said, it's all going to be good. And I told her that she was special at the time. And I'll never forget it. She just said, I don't want to be special. I want to be normal, Dad. We have a special family. We have the Clark family, who we've had. When were you on last? Was it
May.
Back in May?
May.
And I had read about your daughter, who is great at penmanship, and Annie has no hands, and I thought that was just so remarkable that she took what she had and excelled. And so we brought you in, and you're part of a Christmas special that we're doing. Your son plays the innkeeper, and Annie is one of the angels, and it's quite a Christmas special. But I just thought you guys should meet, because there's a lot in. Do you recognize what he's saying about parents? And
Yeah, definitely. I think we can relate. You're so wise. I'm just shaking my head with everything that he's saying. And a lot of it is really what we've tried to instill in our children too, that because God has created everyone for his glory, there's such significance and such value to each individual, regardless of disability, the outward shell.
yeah, and it's amazing, because it is. I was just having lunch with somebody just earlier today, and I was trying to explain that we can't all be herded into the same thing. She was telling me, we got to go this direction, and I said, no, maybe you do, but I don't. And we all at this time, especially in America, we were all born for a reason, and we all have a different gift and a different something that we're supposed to conquer, and which will shape us into what we're supposed to do. And we're all different. And that's when we all come together. We're like a bicycle part. I might be the chain, you might be the wheel, you might be the handlebars, right?
Absolutely.
Is Mary McQuaid around? Where's Mary? Hi, Mary. How are you?
Hi.
Good. You had a question for Nick?
Yes. I want to ask you this question, keeping my sister in mind. My sister Lisa has cerebral palsy, and she's physically handicapped, and her voice is rather difficult to understand sometimes. And what I have noticed is that people seem to associate her lack of physical ability with like a mental deficiency. And I wondered if you'd ever experienced that, and maybe especially when you were younger, and if that led to a challenge in finding friends and developing friendships.
Thank you for your question. Most definitely, as a child, not knowing how to react to, especially little kids, looking at me, pointing their finger at me, or laughing at me. Even adults, sometimes just stare or pretend that I'm not even there. Either way, they're both bad reactions. My parents always said, well, Nick, just start a conversation with them, and they'll see that you're just like them. As far as being able to communicate, not to say that intellectual disabled kids are any less valuable than anyone on this planet. There has been a guy who inspired me before he died of Lou Gehrig's disease. Intellectually he was there, but physically he couldn't speak, he could only smile, and he blinked through the alphabet to communicate with me. He inspired me to become actually an evangelist. He started a website. Instead of feeling sorry for himself on his deathbed, he typed on the computer with the laser technology and inspired hundreds of people through this website. Then I have a friend called Gary Phelps who's got Down syndrome, and I love this guy. I got him to speak at my wedding. And at 26 years old, Gary Phelps one day overheard a conversation of someone saying, did you just hear that so-and-so's child got diagnosed with Down syndrome? And Gary said, that's great. And they're like, what? Gary said, that's awesome. I said, well, what do you mean? This is not good news. It's someone's child just got diagnosed with Down syndrome. What's Down syndrome to you, Gary? He said, well, you just love everybody and you never ever hurt anybody. I really feel that, you know, we all can learn from each other. And seeing the unconditional love from a parent committed to their child, loving, giving, serving, knowing that you cannot be rewarded as such or even be thanked by your kids at times. They don't comprehend it. We know the good news. Heaven's around the corner. We know that. We know that pain did not come from God, but we do know that God never makes a mistake, and none of us are mistakes. We make mistakes, but we are all here for a reason.
Back in a minute. Now maybe some might think this is cruel, but I don't think so. I'm gonna pit Nick and Annie on their penmanship. Annie won penmanship. Come on over here, Annie. Annie, how old are you?
8.
You're 8 years old, and you just won a penmanship competition at school, right? And we had you on the show back in May. So, will you sign Nick's book?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Annie, great job. Thank you. Hug. Thank you.
Can I have one too, Annie? Can I have a hug? You are so beautiful. Thank you.
There's Annie.
Can I challenge you to put that in your mouth and see how good you do? Can you take off the lid, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. No.
Excellent.
Cheers, mate.
And heart.
There you go. I think Annie won.
I think Annie won. Annie, you're the winner.
Annie, you won.
You're the winner. Thank you so much. Where do you go from here? What is the purpose of your life?
Whether it's starring in the Butterfly Circus short film, or producing a music video, or writing books, and doing what I do around the world, speaking, I think the future just looks more exciting, not just as a father and the best husband I can be and loving life and traveling around the world. I really want to make an impact to the world, whether it's in a future feature film or a talk show down the line. I just want to impact millions of people. The letters and emails that we get from people reading the book or watching everything that we've done, we got 100 million YouTube hits. It's when someone says, I was going to give up until I saw Butterfly Circus. That changes everything for you.
When you were 17 or 18, you gave a speech?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
I was, at 17 years old, a junior high schooler, and my janitor and I, at the high school, we became friends because I was waiting for my cab every day. He said, you should become a speaker. I said, no, you're crazy. I said, I have nothing to share. At 19 years old...
You really believed that? At the time, you really believed that? You had nothing to share?
I absolutely believed I had nothing to share.
Okay.
There was a speaker who once came to my school when I was 13, and I thought, that would be pretty cool, get paid and go and, encourage people, inspire people. My friends were crying when he spoke. Reggie Dabbs from Florida, he flew to Australia at my school. He was like, man, I even remember what he said that day, and I'm like, maybe I'd have something to share. But at 17, I was absolutely certain I had nothing. And spoke at a couple small youth groups because of that guy. And then I found myself in front of 300 sophomore students, and I didn't know what to say. I had 7 minutes to talk. My palms were sweaty, my knees were shaking. And it was a public high school, so I couldn't really use the J word, Jesus, right? And I prayed to God, and I said, God, if this is what you really want me to do, I need you. Within 3 minutes, half the girls were crying. One girl in the middle of the room started weeping. She put up her hand, and she said, I'm so sorry that I'm interrupting, but can I come up there and give you a hug? And in front of everyone, she came and she hugged me on my right shoulder, cried on my shoulder, and she said, no one's ever told me that they love me. No one's ever told me that I'm beautiful the way that I am. And the emotion that I had was shock. And I'm thinking, those are the two things that saved my life. How many more millions of teens need to hear that truth? I want to be that speaker of truth.
The name of the book is Unstoppable, available everywhere. Back in a minute. Why don't you go to Nick's website, lifewithoutlimbs.org, and find out more. And also, next week is Thanksgiving. Let's stop worrying about the things we have to complain about and worry about the things we have to be thankful for. From Dallas, good night, America.